Welcome to Backyard Bows. Hey, welcome to Backyard Bows. I'm Brandon, and today we got the Omen. So this is PSE's speed bow for 2022. They just released it recently. I ordered one. It took a little bit for it to get in, but man, I've been excited about this one just because of the IBO ratings of 356. I love doing the speed test. So let's just jump right in. It's back to the Omen. Years before, it was their speed bow was the Omen. It maybe 4 or 5 different changes through the years. And now it's back to just the Omen. So last year's Expedite, I believe it's the same riser, maybe with a couple different bridges removed. So they got the weight down just a hair. But the specs on it, you got 33 inches axle. The axle, like I said, it's a little bit lighter, so it's right at 4.5 pounds. The brace height is 5.5 inches, which we'll talk a little bit in depthly about the brace height in just a moment. A couple things that they did from previous years to just this year in 22, which we saw with the Evo XF and the Levitate, and that I really liked was this bus tuning system. They went from 5 strings, which you usually see, especially on some of the ones nowadays, to 3. Same system, but just with 3 strings. Really simple to use. Now that I've, kind of tuned in the Levitate, the Evo XF, this one, it was just really simple. So by the 3rd time, I kind of went through it and got this one dialed in. This one was really, really simple to tune now that I kind of was a little bit familiar with the system. So I went with the Kuiu. I love the Kuiu Verde. I like the Kuiu Verde 2.0 a little bit better. They had a couple different camo options, couple different color options. Something else that they did new to this year is they widened the limbs and limb pockets to kind of create a really nice, wide, stable platform for the speed bow, which we all know that speed bows kind of need. In full draw, their tendency is to have a little torque in them and to not be as stable. So that's kind of something that they did new to this one. They also added 2 holes, burr holes for the rest instead of just 1. The grip, the same grip that we saw on the Evo XF, and I think we saw the same one on the drive. So it's that really nice thick rubber, which you can remove if you like a little slender grip. I like having different options. They have this bottom attachment part for another stabilizer below. Guys like to balance their bows out in all kinds of different ways. And so they kind of created some different options for everybody. So, which I love. They have a whole bunch of different holes here for the rest. If you want dovetail rest, they added a mounting hole for the quiver. In a nutshell, this bow looks like a speed bow. When you look at this brace height and you look at this, it's something that was new to this year too, and it was on the Evo XF, was this cable guard system. The rod was fairly a little bit longer on that bow, where on this one it's really, really short. So having a 5.5 inch brace height, and really this was a question that I had kind of at the beginning. So the brace height, why would it be a little bit more unforgiving to have a short brace height? Well, having a shorter brace height makes your power stroke longer. And if you're asking what the power stroke is, that's pretty much the time at which your arrow is still connected to the bow. So the longer the power stroke, the shorter the brace height, the longer the power stroke, which really means there's more time for you to make human error while the arrow is still attached to the string. And those minor errors and that little bit of time, that extra time, could result in, larger errors downrange. So, but they're saying that in full draw, this has full draw stability technology, okay? If you look online, it tells you what full draw stability technology is going to do for you. It doesn't really tell you what it is. So finally, when I got a hold of the rep, that was one of my main questions, is like, what is the full draw stability technology? And he just said it's pretty much them widening the limb pockets in the platform. The limbs and the limb pockets. That's what it is. So I went with the E2s because those are the only ones that come into my draw length range. You got 27 up to 31 in the first mod. The other mod goes from 28 down to 24.5, and it actually goes to right under 24. So if you have a really short draw length, 23 3/4 is kind of really what it goes down to. I got mine set at 70 pounds. They have 60, 70, and 80 pound options. It fluctuates maybe 13, 14 pounds instead of 10. With 10 full bolt turns. And then also they have a 50-pound option that you can request if you're a female or you're maybe A smaller guy that wants to pull back 50 pounds, they do have that in an option if you want to request that. Strings and cables are all made in-house, live wire strings. They put them on all their Premier bows. They actually have them on the Brute now as well. Nice strings and cables. Man, I'm excited to shoot this right now. And then I think before we go outside and do our freestyle test today, I'm gonna go ahead and run it through the chronograph while we're inside right now, just to see, because I'm so excited to kind of see where this is gonna get on the feet per second. So right off the bat, the rubber grip, it grew on me as I shot the Evo XF last time, but it is thick. So if you don't like a thick grip, go ahead, you can take that off there, and it has just a nice normal riser grip under it. That's real nice and slim and good to the feel. But I like that you have options. So they cater, anything that caters to different hunters, because we all have different preferences, different options. I like that. These E2 cams on both the Levitate and the Evo XF were fairly aggressive to me. They had a nice pop at the end. It wasn't a smooth transition. That was just my personal feeling with them. But again, these are the only ones. I wish they had my draw length for the S2s. They seem a little bit less aggressive, but these are the ones that get to my draw length of 30. So this is what I had to go with for this bow as well. I love the riser shape. The balance of the bow is really nice. You know, let's see if this new stability technology, you know, actually is noticeable in full draw, because really that's what matters. So if you're trying to pick up the speeds of a bow and you know, the area that you're having to compromise is in full draw, it's never worth it to me. But maybe they've done something different that will make a speed bow less, you know, kind of more stable. So we'll see. So I got a 70-pound bow that feels like I'm pulling back 80. That is a tough pull all the way back until about maybe the last 2.5 inches, and then it kind of lets off. But what I did notice is it wasn't a jerk like the Evo XF, which had a really, you know, small frame to it, kind of axle to axle length. But this one maybe lengthening out. But then again, with the Levitate, I kind of felt the same. It kind of had that little pop towards the end. But it is a tough draw. When this, you know, you can really tell that you're loading these limbs up. And then it kind of, so you got a lot of vibration in your hand, even with that rubber grip on there. But again, I hate that they call it this new stability technology. It's really just the widening of the limbs, but I will say, it's nice and full draw. So once you get past that really heavy draw, it has a nice back wall, and then the whole bow balances really well. For a speed bow, that's nice. So I mean, let's shoot a couple more. Yeah, once you're in full draw, it holds nice. It really does. You know, most speed bows, I think we've done the RX, some of the RX turbos from Hoyt, they kind of are a little jumpy, kind of want to jump on you. This one, when it locks out, nice solid back wall. It's probably one of the tougher bows I've drawn to get back. And this is only at 70. They said this thing shoots, it's made to shoot or shoots the best at 75 to 80 pounds. Let's do one more. So the transition of the bow is nice, it's just tough. So it's a firm pull. And again, if you're buying a speed bow, that's something that you need to be anticipating is, man, it's not gonna have a silky smooth draw, and it's not gonna be effortless to get it back, but that's what you're wanting. You're wanting something that's gonna bring some kinetic energy. You know, this is a pig sticker. I mean, this thing, you can just tell, you always can. When those limbs are loaded, you can tell with the shot cycle, this thing is gonna pump an arrow. So let me set this up and let's see what it gets in the chronograph before we go outside. So I couldn't wait today. Usually we do the speed test after we do the freestyle shoot, kind of towards the end before the grade, but today it's like the main reason I bought this bow is I just wanted to see. So, 356 IBO, which if you know me, you've watched some of my videos, you know I don't give a shit about IBOs. But with just the initial single shot assessment, you can tell that this is going to be cruising 500 grain arrow, 29 and a half, 70 pounds, 85% let off. So let's sling a couple. $297. So you have bows that are quick. And here's the difference to me. Bows that are quick, they can pump a really, really light grain, 350 grain arrow for the IBO at a quick speed. Then you have bows that have strength to them, probably in the limbs. And those bows, as you bump up the grainage of the arrow, they still are able to produce high speeds. So that's why I don't care about the IBO. You might have a quick bow, but once you get a realistic arrow, it's not necessarily going to be that much more. So you have the Levitate, the Spectra, that have gotten to the same speeds as this Omen. And you could say my chronograph was running hot for the Spectra, maybe a little bit, but even then, shooting the bow, you can feel that it's really, really, has some strength to it and was really pumping that arrow. Even before you run it through the chronograph test, you can kind of tell those things. The Levitate, man, the Levitate was faster than the Omen with a realistic arrow. So let's shoot a couple just to kind of see. $298, so consistent. But again, the 356 selling point. So again, that's why I wanted to do this. You got the two main selling points. The full draw stabilization technology. That is complete selling point. It just means they widen the limb pockets. And they should have. If you have a speed bow with a super short brace height, you're going to do everything else you can with the bow to try to make it stable and full draw, because that's what matters. So it's not some new technology. They just widen the limb pockets, okay? Which, again, they should. 356 on the IBO, fastest bow ever, and pushing new speeds. Who gives a fuck? Pardon my French. Who fucking cares? You know, if you're buying this bow for that, you're not really going to get that. There's other bows out there that shoot just as fast as this once you get a 500 grain arrow in there. So does it really matter? No. Now for a speed bow, this bow is fairly comfortable. It has a nice setup when it's in full draw. It has a nice solid back wall. You know, and I'm going to blame it on these E2s, which I have each time. The draw cycle is, to me, my least favorite of any bow that we've done. And again, that's all preference. It doesn't necessarily really factor into the success of your hunt, but it's not comfortable by any means. But for a speed bow, this is a nice bow. You're trying to get through some hog hide, that's only $295. Something really tough and thick, bringing some kinetic energy, maybe this is something that you would need. But my thing always is where you sacrifice with speed bows is usually at full draw, which is the most important part. So is the amount of speed that you supposedly are getting worth the sacrifice? To me, it's always going to be no. And like I said, there's other bows that have almost reached the exact same speeds and that were way more comfortable. 296, so really consistent. I love that, right at 300 almost. That's awesome. That's super fast. And again, it's all just preference. What are you hunting? Do you need the extra kinetic energy? Do you need that oomph to get through, some thick hides, bones? So, this is obviously going to do the trick. This thing is, speeds are devastating. And for the speed bows, I think they've done a good job with the full draw. But it's just, everything these days are advertised you in this way of new technology. Most of it is not new technology. Very little of it is actually brand new, patented new technology. So just make sure you kind of see, see through all that. And again, get into a bow shop, shoot the bow several times and really see if it's something that's gonna be comfortable to you, something that you can shoot consistently. And we'll see, I'm gonna go outside, we'll do a freestyle shoot. You know, if you were to buy this and have this be your main bow, you know, the amount of, are you gonna be able to get the practice in this are you gonna be able to practice with this bow as much as you would another bow? I'm gonna tell you right now, no, I'm definitely not gonna be able to shoot as many arrows with this throughout the day than I would with another bow. And you know, is that something you're willing to give? I think practice is the most important thing. So if you're not able to get out there and really comfortably shoot your bow, you know, so again, you got to think about all these things when you're buying a bow. Let's shoot one more. 297. So this is probably one of the most consistent bows that we've got through, which I do love. And those speeds are awesome. So the Prime Inline, 293, right there. PSE Levitate, 295, right there. Safari, 302. You know, the Spectra, 302. You know, so you got other bows that are, you know, pushing out arrows almost the same speed as this, but the IBO on this is so much greater. All right, on to the best part. So, like I mentioned, it's hot. We are going to shoot a whole bunch. We'll shoot some from all the different angles that we like to shoot at here at all the different targets. Take breaks in between, but try to get as many as we can. So when you're buying a speed bow, number one thing you're probably gonna sacrifice in is the stability at full draw. PSE's pitch is that they're claiming by widening the limb pockets and the limbs, we created a more, you know, a wider, stable platform. And then also some of the things that they did was they widened the cam, which distributes the load on the axle. You know, they're obviously trying to do some things and make the little improvements to give you the best bows that we can. But we'll see. We'll see kind of how comfortable this is in full draw and how stable I kind of, you know, the feeling I get from it. So we'll start here. We got the bore at 25. We'll go to the buck at 30. There's a good amount of vibration in the hand, and man, like most speed bows, this thing makes a thud. But again, by the time the animal, you know, I guess the whole theory is by the time the animal hears that thud, the arrow's moving so fast it's not gonna play into effect. But buck. That one felt good. So the shot cycle, I think my favorite thing about these cams cable system is the shot cycle. It's so clean. And I said that with the Evo XS. That's probably my favorite thing. The draw cycle is the one thing that I really have not enjoyed. But the shot cycle, which I think is a little bit more important, it is super clean. And at full draw, it has a solid back wall, but I feel like I'm using a little bit more of my front shoulder. You know, I can kind of feel it there. So it, you know, it takes a good amount of effort to keep it back. It has a solid back wall, but I'm still having to put a good amount of effort to keep it in full draw. So we'll go to the Coyote, which is kind of a skip over at 35 yards. Get a better one. We'll do one more. I gotta end on a better note than that. So as I get tired, that little give jerk at the end with these E2 cams, that gets more noticeable even with this one. So this thing doesn't, that's a good one. This thing doesn't give at all and doesn't even start transitioning until the last like 2.5 inches. So you're putting a good amount of effort in the whole draw cycle of this. Let's get over there, we'll jump across the yard and we'll shoot some longer shots, and that's kind of where we'll be able to see that stability play into effect a little bit more. So we moved the turkey over here. We got the turkey at 25. We got the broadhead buck at 30. Black Bear at 40, jumping up to the elk at 50. So I think I said it earlier, but man, this thing is like I keep calling it a pig sticker. We went down to Texas, Oklahoma a couple years ago, did a little hog hunting. And I think the only time I've ever really seen anything, you know, where I thought in my head, man, I wish I would have had more kinetic energy. I wish I would have had a faster bow. I wish I would have had a heavier arrow, is, you know, hunting hogs. That's the only time I think I've ever seen an arrow not penetrate something, you know. Or you hit a deer shoulder, you know, right in that shoulder blade. I've seen kind of one bounce off of there. But for the most part, pigs, that skin is so tough, so thick, their bones are so dense. I feel like that's where you're gonna need this little extra hump that these speed bows get. Or if you're hunting some real large game. But let's go turkey first. And we'll kind of make our way up this little 3D ladder. We'll go broadhead buck. We'll shoot a couple extra ones on these farther targets. But I do have to say, I wasn't knocking it earlier, I just, you know, when I'm looking online and I see full draw stability technology, I'm like looking through their website and trying to find like exactly what it is, because it's only like a description of what it does for you. And I'm thinking like they did something crazy to like make this thing more stable than other speedbows. They just widen the limb pockets, but it does help. At full draw, this is actually really, really nice. You know, but again, when you're online, you're like, yeah, what is full draw stability technology? I actually had to like call the rep back and be like, hey, what exactly is it? You know, he was like, well, we widen the limb pockets and we widen the limb. You know, so if you were wondering, like I was, and kind of searching, like, what is it? What is the new technology? Yeah, that's it. I don't know why always when I step outside too, you can like hear the noise of a bow a little bit differently than inside, but man, this thing does have like a boom every time you shoot. So now let's go 50 up to the elk. So once we get up to the 50 yards, and I've noticed this through these reviews, the bows that are shooting the feet per second with this grain arrow, like in the high 280s, 290s, 300, the arc is so minimal. I mean, they shoot darts on a string to the 50-yard pin. Anything in the 250s, 260s, that's when they kind of get that little arc to them and you're kind of dropping arrows in. But I have a feeling this thing is gonna just kind of beamline right to that elk, which is kind of fun to see from this angle. Man, they're on a string. It's kind of crazy. Zero arc to these arrows almost. But let's go, we'll get up to the elk. I mean, these things are humming. It's like I talk speed over comfort all the time, and I would always take comfort, but man, it's fun to shoot speed bows. And they just shoot differently. Those arrows, the flight of that arrow is crazy. And I'm not gonna lie, the stability is really, really nice. I think they did a really good job at that. The more and more I shoot, and we'll shoot throughout the day, the more and more I shoot, the more and more you realize that this thing balances really, really nice in full draw. That's impressive to me. Most speed bows, you're struggling to hold them back. You're struggling to get the pins to dial down. This one, you know, the amount of effort you have to put in to pull it back, then to get back and feel as comfortable as you do, I like that. Let's shoot one more. So overall, little vibration in the hand, actually a good amount of vibration in the hand. Pretty loud noise. Shot cycle's nice and clean. The draw is miserable. I mean, just absolute effort to get it back. Once you do get it back, has a nice back wall, balances out real nice. The stability is the best part, especially since I'm considering that it's a speed bow. Man, that's awesome. All right, we're gonna sit down and put a grade together. Actually, we'll shoot a whole bunch, then we'll sit down and we'll put a grade together. All right, Omen PSE, man. I would say this is my favorite 2022 bow from the PSE lineup, by a long shot, to be honest. This is the first bow from PSE with these cams. I think they work well with this bow. Man, 298, unbelievable speeds for a 500 grain arrow, but we've seen other bows that claim less IBOs right around the same. So again, I talked about it a little bit. There's quick bows and then there's strong bows. So I think this is a very, very quick bow with a little bit of strength. And man, it was really, really shooting some absolute darts out on that freestyle shoot. Loved it. So it got a 12 out of 10 on the speed, hovering right around 300. So then we go to the quality. Quality, I gave it an 8. I love everything on the bow. I think it's a really solid bow, but I've talked about it before with these cams that stick so high above the limbs. There's just so much room for error and damage. Climbing in, hitting your tree stand, you know, just in the ground. They are a little thicker and I think they're really durable, but I hate that they stick that far above and below the limb pockets. I like everything nice and compact. So I gave it an 8 out of 10, but the entire bow quality is exceptional. From the riser, one of my favorite cable guard systems, limb pocket, everything is just, you know, really, really solid. That's my only concern. 9 out of 10 for the appeal. Man, this bow is absolutely beautiful. I love the Kuyu Verde. Just all together, this bow is sick. I love the shape of the riser. I mean, I think PSE favorite bow appeal as well from this year. So 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10 for the technology. You know, simple system. I think it works well. I do like the bus tuning system. More and more I've messed with it, the better off, you know, the easier I've had to kind of tune it and realize that it is a really simple system and very accurate. And once you get it in place, you know, it wants to stay there. So 8 out of 10 for the technology, and then I gave it an 8 out of 10 for the performance. The draw cycle was brutal to me. I'm coming off of a shoulder injury. It's not even at 75 or 80 pounds, which they recommend shooting it. I mean, I can't imagine that draw cycle then. I do prefer some comfort over speed, but again, if I was to use this, I would kind of pick and choose where I used it in the field. I'm not climbing in and shooting this thing in a tight space, trying to draw back that bow from a tree stand. You know, maybe if I had a really, really nice spacious blind or I was out in the open, man, this thing would absolutely annihilate some things. So really cool bow by PSE, favorite of the year. Omen makes up two extra bonus points for being 1150. Anywhere between 11 and 1500, we give you 2 extra bonus points. Over 1500, you only get to make up 1. And if you get a bow, a really nice bow, under $1,000, we give you 3 extra bonus points. So 47 overall, nice 94 out of 100. That's kind of right, you know, 92, 94. That's where most of these high-end bows kind of have landed. So another one right in there. Great bow by PSE. Man, I was having a hard time this year with PSE with the Evo XF and the Levitate. They just weren't my favorite, personal favorite. But the Omen, this kind of changed the little taste in my mouth I had. And this bow's awesome. I'll probably hold on to this one for a little bit and see if see what kind of damage it can do. Make sure that you don't buy a bow off a single bow review. If you found anything in this review that was helpful to you, please subscribe to the channel. We got plenty more bows to come. We've already done a ton of bows that are up right now. Go ahead and take a look. Also follow us on Instagram. We'll be posting updates on what bows that we're gonna have next, some videos, the basic bowman video, some other things that we have in store. We've been working really hard, so stay tuned. Above all, get your reps in. We'll see you next time.